Good morning, everybody. This is Diggs. It's another beautiful day out here in the Pacific Northwest, and today we're going to be doing some wotive stuff, but we're going to be talking a lot about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, my experience with the game, whether I enjoyed it. So let's go ahead and dig in. All right, well, before we even talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, shout out to my 1000 cumulative login today. Cumulative. I can speak the language. I was greeted by this doozy today. I still have no idea what I'm going to spend half of my stuff on. I know Ashen Mont came out, but I still don't know. Maybe by the end of this video, we'll do a few Ashen Mont pulls and we'll make a little bit of a run for him. So I did want to talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because it is the only Final Fantasy game that has released in the last 5 to 10 years that I have not been able to beat yet. I bought it when it released, and I love Final Fantasy VII Remake. I love Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but there's something about the quantity of mini games and the gameplay loop of the actual game itself that stops me from enjoying the game. There is something about the shift from Remake's kind of on-grid movement pattern to the open world format from Remake to Rebirth that really both is cool for the world, but also kind of dilutes what I would consider is the foundational gameplay elements of the game in a way that I don't enjoy. If we're talking story, if we're talking combat system, if we're talking card game, if we're talking environment, of course it's going to check all of those things. I think it provocatively tells a story much better than the previous Final Fantasy VII Remake, actually. It feels like the acting is better, the voice acting, it feels like the animations are better. Overall, it feels like a really good first-person solid experience. And like I said, I love the combat system. But I am left in a situation where the majority of the combat that I encounter is usually pretty vanilla in the game. It turns into an Assassin's Creed style kind of going and checking off all of the boxes on the world map, which I wouldn't mind, but I don't think Square Enix has found an effective way to make it feel good or to feel unique. It kind of reminds me of Final Fantasy XIV 1.0, where they had this vast open world and there weren't really that many points of interest that made things unique, right? Or points of interest that made interesting things happen. Even the specialty events for the different regions that you're in don't really seem to be that interesting. Sure, you'll get to engage in, meeting another character from the previous game or 4 characters, and they're kind of comedy, but the story's not really that great. The side quests aren't that engaging. You run into situations where, you have these 4 story events, and some of them lead to things like the Fort Condor minigame, and the story just of that whole Gilgamesh arc completely unfascinating. World traversal, it's actually done pretty well, but in terms of interesting things in the world or repetitive minigames, I felt like I just kept running into that. And that, I can put up with that for a while and I can churn through a game, but I actually had to put Rebirth aside just because it felt like I was forcing myself to play the game, specifically when it came to things like the Moogle minigame or the Crunches minigame. There's a section in particular, which I did get past, that has you visit Costa del Sol, and it does have you go to the Gold Saucer as well. And while that is very exciting and very cool because the Gold Saucer is awesome, and while Costa del Sol, it's nice to actually see that visual representation and feel it right in the environment, I didn't really find myself enjoying the environment or feeling sucked into that world, because I was too busy playing the massive amount of mini games that unlock when you encounter that. Not only that, you unlock Chadley's entire combat battle system for every region that you go into, and it's not interesting combat battles. It's the same recipe over and over again. You get an Esper, you go to the 3 Esper sites, you unlock the Esper fight, you unlock the Esper, and I can't help but feel like it would have been much more interesting and much more rewarding if maybe you got some of this Esper materia in other ways. Maybe you ran into an Esper in the real world, and I understand that's not necessarily how it was in the original Final Fantasy VII, but it's one of those things that would have added to the world without kind of taking things away. And while I am on a break, I do plan on finishing Rebirth, but just the quantity of minigames, especially once I got to that Cactuar minigame, was just so, I mean, I'll just say it, it was fucking annoying, you know? And I wanted more combat. I wanted to enjoy the combat system because it does feel good. But then even when I enjoy the combat system, I'll come up against a boss that has a gimmick, right? Or I'll come up against a boss that requires you to fight more aerially. And maybe I don't have characters that specialize in aerial combat. Maybe I don't have the proper materia. And you would think, well, I could just go and reset my materia. No, not necessarily. Sometimes you can, but sometimes you're just going to be locked into an annoying gimmicky fight where everything you've learned about the combat system isn't necessarily going to help you defeat the bosses. It's going to be much more about either completing that mini game to defeat the boss. Specifically, I'm thinking about the helicopter sequence when you come out of Gold Saucer for the second time. I'm also thinking about things like the Mako reactor fight when you are in, I'm just going to say when you're in the jungle, because I don't want to necessarily spoil anything for you guys, but there's just a lot of things that it feels like, it feels like I'm playing a Kingdom Hearts game with minigame crack, and I'm not playing a Final Fantasy. And so for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I have taken a break right now. I would say I'm about 3/4 of the way through the game. I do plan on finishing it, but it's just kind of dragged on for me. I do find it a little bit interesting as well, some of the story tweaks that they are doing. I do tend to enjoy that. I know there's a lot of purists out there who are really like, you know, oh, the story, you know, what the fuck are they doing to the story? Like, there's a lot of people that are upset with it, and that doesn't bother me as much because it is interesting. And I tend to always like, I believe it's Nomura is the director, right? Same guy that did Kingdom Hearts right now. Can't remember, but I believe it is. And I've always tend to like his more ambiguous storytelling and kind of the depths that it goes to. And I think it does pair really well with Final Fantasy VII. So in that regards, yes, there is a little bit of frustration, and yes, there is a little bit of deviation from what I would expect, but the introduction of other things like a parallel storyline with Zack, right? That definitely makes things interesting, and it kind of makes me want to revisit and make sure I do actually finish the game. But like I said, it's the first Final Fantasy game that I haven't played through, played through, and I played through many of them in one sitting, essentially. Like, I had to stop, and it's not a matter of time. It's not a matter of I didn't enjoy the combat system. It's just a matter of gimmicks, mini games, and it just feels like the entire game is loaded up with them. Now, on a War of the Vision scale, I think I did promise you guys at least a few Ashen Mont pulls in the beginning of this video. I don't know how good Ashen Mont is. I do know that of all things, an Advent Children collaboration is coming soon, which is, I just don't understand, because why would you do a collaboration with a 10-year-old movie unless you're either just trying to milk the Final Fantasy VII, which, why would you do that when you can milk the Final Fantasy VII from like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, right? Or do a collaboration with Ever Crisis, even though they are on their way out. Why are we revisiting? It doesn't quite make sense to me, unless we are maybe considering Advent Children as a future movie once more. Now, I don't know. I actually don't know which banner is the best one to pull on. It's been a while since I've had to do this. Oh, this is the paid banner. Okay, so we got 7,000 viz. We're gonna go ahead and see how far we can go into the 4-step. I don't think, oh, I actually only have 6,000 free. So we'll be able to do 3 polls. So let's go ahead and end this video on a positive note and bust out these 3 polls. Hopefully we'll get there. If not, I probably will be farming up some Vizio over the course of the next couple of days. I've heard Ashenmont is a pretty good unit and people are very hyped for him. I've also heard, Jesus, I just pulled fucking Oran J. Are you out there right now? Because fucking Eileen has shown up in my polls down twice. Each poll I've done, I've gotten fucking Eileen today. Fucking, if Eileen shows up again, I'm gonna walk over there into your stream and break the door down. Okay, I think I have one more here. It's gonna dip into the paid Vizio just a bit, but that's okay because we're gonna get Mind Spheres and stuff too. And we got a Glaciella. It's okay. It's okay. We have a ton of Vizio to grind out in the game right now, and hopefully it'll actually enable us to also get Sephiroth when he does come out in the next update. In terms of videos coming out right now and the quality, do expect to see some more videos that are pretty chill like this and just talking. I'm not sure how I want to change my style, what games I want to cover, kind of all the things like that. So please make sure to leave, post in the comment section. Again, this video was inspired by Nikki Dio. So go ahead and let me know what you guys want to see. If there's a game you want me to cover, I know that Unicorn Tactics and Eluden Chronicles a lot of people want me to play, but those are like whole game JRPGs, which maybe I can cover, but I'm not really in the mood to play a whole game right now. I'm really kind of want to focusing on mobile games, something that I can pick up and play whether I'm on break at work or on a slow day for me. So let me know what you guys think, and I look forward to hearing from you guys in the comments. Have a great rest of your day.